Hello, and welcome to the first episode of Art of the Covenant. Do you see what I did there? A podcast that will explore works of art, be it paintings, literature, movies, songs, architecture, and anything else that one could classify as art. Like, is a naked Brazilian lady sitting on a chocolate cake and farting on it art? These are the kind of things that I will explore because balance is important in a well-lived life. I will peruse through catalogues of clean and saintly works that you'd find in charity shops and churches. But I'll also leaf through naughty leaflets and outright devilish manifestations. Because you gotta yin and yang that life, baby. Think of me as a personification of a Hieronymus Bosch painting. That's right. So, who are these artists behind the canvases and cameras that were driven to create their works? And how does art reflect society? And would you eat that aforementioned chocolate cake if it had been farted on? And more importantly, should you? Along the way to answer these questions, we may stumble on some strange and spiritual and perhaps even magical meaning behind these masterpieces, and maybe even dip our toe in conspiracy theories. Ooh, did Shakespeare write all these plays, or was he a straw man for other authors? How dare he? And if you backmask, that means play backwards, Led Zeppelin's Stairway to Heaven, does it truly reveal the phrase, "Here's to my sweet Satan"? And is that really an alien spaceship behind 15th century painting of the Madonna with Saint Giovannino? And has Avril Lavigne really been replaced by a doppelganger? There are so many questions, and that is my quest to discover the truth. And my hypothesis is that art is up for interpretation, because our individual eyes see differently depending on what I, you, me, we, the beholder believes. So there we have it. Art is subjective, and probably there isn't just one truth. The end. I don't need to do any more episodes. Ooh, I just took a sip from my recently made tea and it burnt my tongue. Ooh, okay. I've got to do something with my life, so I might as well do more episodes. And my eyes might be the ideal recipients for some hidden truths. Art thou not fatal vision, sensible to feeling as to sight? Or art thou but a dagger of the mind, a false creation, proceeding from the heat-oppressed brain? Oh, I see thee, yet in form as palpable as this which now I draw. My eyes may be the ideal recipients for some hidden truths because I've seen behind the curtain, man. I've sneaked a peek through the metaphysical fourth wall, man. Eternity and I made the beast with two backs, and thus was born a baby curious and hungry for knowledge. What I'm saying is, I've been to a psychiatric hospital twice, escaped one of them. The doctors still haven't found me, so shh, don't tell them where I am. But do invite them to like and subscribe this podcast. So yes, a madman might just be the ingredient we all need in this chaotic life. As the Cheshire Cat says, we're all mad here. I'm mad. You're mad. But how do you know I'm mad? You must be, or you wouldn't have come here. Here being this podcast. Meow. I'm the perfect candidate to snoop in this private corridor of museums to unearth some dark secrets and then share them with you. Because once people think you're crazy, you become invisible. Because nobody's gonna believe him. He's a lunatic. Why was I sent to the cuckoo's nest? Was it some psychological breakdown, or could it have been a breakthrough? Did I reach some sort of spiritual apotheosis, which now has made religious language just part of my day-to-day? Was I really face-to-face with God? Albeit briefly? And that's what blew my mind? Or did aliens mess with my neurons and maybe do all sorts of kinky sexual things to me? Or, am I just crazy? I seek those answers too. And it seems creating and exploring art is the key to opening those doors. In trying to make sense of my supernatural experience, I actually came across a piece of art which perfectly captures what happened to me. The Flammarion engraving. Now, if you're listening to this in audio format, I invite you to search for the image. Flammarion engraving. If you're watching on YouTube, hello. I'm looking into the camera, and now I'm looking directly into your eyes, dear viewer. My God, don't you look beautiful? Of course, from my perspective, I'm just looking at a photographic lens, which is weird. But on this platform, YouTube, I can share the image. The Flammarion engraving. Now, it's commonly associated with French astronomer Camille Flammarion. Bonjour, je m'appelle Camille, because it first appeared in Flammarion's 1888 book, L'Atmosphère, Météorologie populaire. The engraving style suggests it could be from 16th century, but no earlier copies have been found to confirm this. So the original woodcut includes a caption in French. Un missionnaire du Moyen Âge raconte qu'il avait trouvé le point où le ciel et la terre se touchent, which translates to a missionary of the Middle Ages that tells he had found the point where the sky and the earth touch. Ooh, ooh. The image is of a flat earth with a celestial dome. That's common in medieval cosmology. And it seems to symbolize the intersection of science and mysticism and the pursuit of understanding the universe. Is this piece of Renaissance art about scientific discovery, spiritual enlightenment, or the limits of human perception, or all three of them, or maybe more? I don't know. I'm not an astronaut in the conventional sense, one whose body leaves the exosphere to view our planet from enough distance that you could blot the Earth out with your thumb, but one who did nonetheless explore the outer ranges of the universe in a way that left my body behind as I ventured into the memory-erasing unknown, to finally return home with the same kind of turbulence as a spaceship piercing through the atmosphere. Yeah, that's kind of why I went a little bit cuckoo. Like the man in the Flammarion engraving, I briefly popped my head through some firmament, the edge of the cosmos, and I saw something that I could not unsee, something which has made the bubble that we live in, our world, seem as though it's no longer enough for me. Ah. I recently spoke to a new therapist. I seem to be going through them like Tinder dates. And I got her up to date with all my antics. And I asked her if she'd read or seen Lord of the Rings. And she hadn't. So I immediately demanded the NHS provide me with someone qualified. But alas, she was the only one available. And she's actually a great therapist. But anyway, I asked her if she'd seen it because it's so challenging to explain one's inner world to another person. I think that's why we love art. It's a slither of something that we connect to across time and space. That's the beauty of it. And when she asked me how I'm feeling at the moment, I compared myself to Frodo at the end of the trilogy movie. He's traversed the entire world to get to Mordor and battled all sorts of demons and ghouls. And he's back in the Shire where all his friends are having a laugh, dancing and playing music, but he's unable to connect with them. And he's not just exhausted, he has seen too much. And he has to leave his old home for somewhere new, the Undying Lands. And that's kind of how I feel. It's odd, in this new world bound to corporeality, I've had a hard time finding purpose. Like working out what matters, like who should I care about, what rules and laws could or should evaporate, like what job should I have, like what rules should I obey. I am the universe experiencing itself after all. Why should I pay rent? The entire thing is mine. I mean ours. The entire thing is ours. And in that brief moment in the abyss, all these man-made constructs, all these man-made constructs evaporated. And although I see the utility of them as a biological individual that coexists with others under the umbrella of society, one could argue that from a lion's perspective, the cage, albeit useful for the protection of visitors, hinders the king's nature. And now I'm me. I'm me, of course I'm me. But there's something else. A new driver behind the wheel, a new mind, spirit, soul, perhaps. I imagine the man in that piece of art didn't know what to do with himself. His body remained on terra firma, but his mind went beyond the edge of the universe, and somehow the connection between the new world and the old has to be bridged. Like the captain of Theseus's ship sensing land over the horizon, but still floating on a surface between sky and sea. My metamorphosis was painful. Is painful? I don't know. I'm not sure if it ceased. I'm not sure if growth ever stops. Nature always sort of changes, right? There's this idea about the trickster, the jester, the comedian, explores Dr. Peterson in one of his lectures about the psychological significance of biblical stories. That's where I saw it. The trickster is the precursor to the savior, the satirical and the ironic, and the troublemaker, the comedian, the fool. The fool is the precursor to the savior. Why? Because You're a fool when you start something new. And if you're not willing to be a fool, then you'll never start something new. And if you don't start something new, then you'll never develop. And so the willingness to be a fool is the precursor to transformation. And that's the same as humility. So if you're going to write your destiny, you can do a bad first job. You're going to get smarter as you move forward. I'm not saying I'm a savior, by the way. I'm just saying the fool is a symbiotic relationship with society. As Shakespeare once said, the fool doth think he is wise, but the wise man knows himself to be a fool. And as Avril Lavigne sang in her, dare I say, best album, Let Go, if you're trying to turn me into someone else, it's easy to see I'm not down with that. I'm nobody's fool. I'm nobody's fool. What I'm saying is I am a genius. And you did the right thing by joining me on this artistic adventure. This is where it all begins. But of course, this means that I've just emerged out of an ending. Huh? Isn't that what Joseph Campbell bangs on about in his analysis of the hero's journey? Every end is a beginning. So if you've just listened to the very last episode of this podcast in the future, and you're back here, welcome back. And I hope that you enjoy all the Easter eggs and red herrings that I will inevitably sprinkle in upcoming episodes, which of course, from your perspective, will be the past. Like, I am presently creating the future, and you, dear listener, are an internet archaeologist, excavating these episodes to perhaps discover some secrets. How ironic. That's exactly what I'm about to do. Art is the sustenance that helps us understand something that is bigger than us. And that's why I'm on this journey, I suppose. As Carl Jung suggests, art is the kind of innate drive that seizes a human being and makes him its instrument. The artist is not a person endowed with free will who seeks his own ends, but one who allows art to realize its purpose through him. As a human being, he may have moods and a will and personal aims, but as an artist, he is man in a higher sense. He is collective man, one who carries and shapes the unconscious psychic forms of mankind. So, if you don't like my podcast, don't blame me. Blame our collective unconscious. It's as much your fault as it is mine. But if you did like today's episode, you're welcome, and I alone deserve all rewards and gratitude. Thank you for listening to this podcast. Subscribe, like. I would love it if you shared some works of art with me that spoke to you in the comment section below. And do me a favor, leave a good old rating on the Apple Podcast. I would be ever so grateful for your assistance. Welcome on board this treasure hunt for beautiful art and its secrets. I have a feeling that the hunt for treasure is the treasure. Oh. Now, I have a real appetite for some chocolate cake. I don't know why.